This is the Nasserman Hockey Podcast with James Nichols and John Zella.
Welcome back to a live edition of the Nasserman Hockey Podcast. I'm John Zella, continuing to take the reins. And of course, I'm here with James Nichols of the fourth period, as always. James, you're feeling better these days. The mustache is just thick. The lip lettuce is unreal.
You like it?
I don't mind it. It's the last day of November, so
Yes.
I don't mind seeing it.
You know who does mind it?
I know exactly who does mind it because I've seen
wife.
the posts. Because you were at a wedding not too long ago, right? Or you had some gathering or something.
Oh, it was Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, right? Man, it feels like that was a week ago, like more than a week ago already. So
It does.
Yeah, that's definitely crazy. So thank you for joining us for a live edition here. This episode, we're gonna discuss Islanders' ongoing losing streak, sad face, their COVID situation, second sad face. If the Islanders can recover, if it makes sense to make a trade, a lot of little rumors flying around, a lot of articles, editorializing. I don't blame people for wanting to kind of see some of that happen, and answer some of your questions at the end of the show if there are any.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first thing, and this is, I just kind of started seeing this the last couple of days, and I don't know if you've seen it, that Elmont residents complaining about Islander fans parking in neighborhoods and walking around, and some not great stuff. Have you seen some of that?
I did. I saw a little bit of that, and it's to be expected, in my opinion. You know, the no tailgating, no honking sign wasn't just placed there at random. Like, hey, by the way, we just decided this. It was the people of Elmont who, you know, there was a community that was against this arena, and they didn't win that battle, and now it's here, and they're going to complain because they weren't happy that it was built in the first place. And you know, it is what it is. It'll pass with time, and it's a narrative right now because the arena is new, and you know there are journalists out there looking for stories, and this is certainly one of them. So
someone has to be tipped off as well. It's not like it's not in a vacuum. I don't think they're just kind of showing up and knocking on doors like, how do you feel about this, and kind of pumping people up. I don't think they're just
this isn't 1988 where journalists go to door and ask people how they're feeling.
You know, I don't no, I don't believe that for a second. I think it's very funny because I don't exactly, like, I've seen the racetrack, right? Like I know about where it is. I've never really spent time in that particular kind of area, but thinking about where it could have been, in other words, in a giant parking lot on a road with a lot of just businesses next to a hotel, or what could have been a whole kind of commercial area. I don't know what to tell you, Nassau County. You had an opportunity here. You could have pushed for it, and this would have been done a decade ago. Not only would have been done a decade ago, it wouldn't have been in your backyard. I don't know what to I don't know what to tell you. Now, I think it had a lot to do with the town and some other things. So I don't think it's just like folks living in or around the arena. I don't exactly know. It's like 8 miles down the road, if I'm remembering, or whatever, 7 or 8 miles, if I'm remembering Brendan Burke's pregame speech there, that the Islanders put together that video, which was amazing.
Yeah,
he recorded, I believe, the whole thing for that.
Yeah,
it's super cool,
really cool.
But yeah, I mean, not to just continue to bring up the Coliseum thing and Lighthouse Project and all this other stuff, as we're said many times, it's time to just kind of move on. But seeing that pop up for me was like, I do not know what to tell you. At the same time, be good, Islander fans. People do live places. I've lived in college towns before, still kind of do. Just be good. They're neighbors.
Yeah,
they're fellow Long Islanders. I don't know. That's it'd be a big blow. Like, I don't know who's actually going to Islander games. I don't understand what this, like, not being at least a little bit understanding, like, on both sides. Islander fans need to be a little more understanding. People who live there need to be a little more understanding. Like, you are a guest in somebody's neighborhood. I know it doesn't seem like it, but be good to each other. Also, the residents, like, what is it, like 40 minutes of it? Come on.
Yeah, it's true abundantly on both sides. It's like, all right, like I mean, there's only been 4 games. How are we complaining already? On both
Unreal.
sides. On both sides. Like,
And
how are we complaining already?
I mean, so there was the Sunday game. It was all weekend games at this, or people had days off. So it was a Wednesday
Yeah.
night leading into Thanksgiving. It was a Friday night, and it was a Saturday night. 3 out of 4 games were weekends. I'm not saying go crazy and everyone should just be like, well, the kids are out. It's the weekend. Let them do, I understand. You can get a little annoyed. I have crazy neighbors. I understand. Um, anyway, I thought that was interesting. I'm just kind of seeing the last couple of days, um, this kind of percolating.
Yeah, I
So
mean, again, like I said, it's gonna die down. It's very early on in the tenure of the arena, and like I said earlier, people are gonna be waiting for their moment to, you know, speak to how they feel about this. They lost that first battle. Now they want to make an uproar because they're angry about it, and here we are now. There are angry Almont neighbors by the UBS arena who, quite frankly, just don't want to have to deal with that kind of thing. And unfortunately for those people, it's here, it's happening. Fortunately for everybody else, it's here, it's happening. But um, like you said, be good to each other, be kind, try to, I don't know, not honk and not tailgate.
yeah, look, there it's I
Try.
think we kind of have to take our lumps with this one. Like, all right, we don't have um the ability to tailgate or whatever, but we also had to drive 7 extra miles and get to UBS Arena as opposed to Brooklyn, where you also couldn't tailgate.
Yeah.
So you win some, you lose some. It's a brand new arena just for the Islanders. Some things are going to have to change.
Go to the offside tavern, hang out there for a couple hours before the game.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
You got
There
a
seems
space.
to be plenty to do. Head inside the rink. You know, I like that the Islanders had this very unique thing. Take the
Yeah.
energy inside. Save it for the game. It's not been very loud over the TV. So I mean,
Yeah.
now the team's kind of, and this is a good segue. Um, Losing streak hit 8 games.
Yeah.
2 more losses to the Rangers and the Penguins, albeit with a very not NHL roster.
Yeah.
Um, Before we get to the shutdown and some of that news, that broke, I guess almost a week ago. As many of you were listening to this, unless you're live, which thank you. What did you think of those 2 games?
They played as well as they could have. They with an AHL roster. I mean, look, we're down 9 players. 9 of your
Well,
regulars.
7. Let's yes,
7 to COVID, 2 to
7 to
injury,
COVID. Yeah, just to kind of.
but they're down 9 players in total. Um, they scored 1 goal in the 2 games, albeit the 1 goal came from 0 NHLers, which was kind of cool. It was Andreoff from Koivula and Aho, so that was nice. And then in
That's
game
some
2,
preseason stat line if
that
I've
is a
ever heard of it.
preseason stat line, right?
As we
Game
joked with
2,
Joe last week.
yeah. They didn't score at all. The most notable of the weekend or the back-to-back, Ilias Roken for only allowing a single goal against the Penguins. It's listen, a tough stretch right now. There's not too much more to say about, how those 2 games went without saying the same thing you were saying in the previous games. They're
I,
playing with like you said, an AHL roster. It's tough.
so I know, yeah. So the roster it's in tough shape. We can
Yeah.
that's fine. This was kind of the trend even before that. There were still 3 or 4 games. I think you can count that Calgary game. I think which would make the losing streak before really 3 games, and then the opening night was kind of the beginning of this kind of wacky part of the losing streak.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know how to. I really don't know how to put that. Um, that just kind of like either injuries popped up or whatever the case was.
Yeah.
Which makes it like 3 and 5 really. That but it was still a trend. They were still going in this direction. I don't think it was. It was unfortunate, but even with the roster the way that it is, Are you seeing any progress? Are there parts of the game that you can at least point to and say, if the full lineup was here, they may be getting out of this? Were there any positive? 1-0
Um,
loss to the Penguins isn't really the end of the world. They're getting really healthy, so that to me was a pretty decent sign. Um, they still looked a step behind as an HL roster, but what were those two games? Really, the Rangers and the Penguins to me were different.
I 100% agree with that. Actually, the Ranger game, it was like a good period and a half, and then once the dam broke for the Rangers, they really took over that game. In game 2 against the Penguins, that was a much better game. The Penguins have had their own issues this season. I've been following Pittsburgh a little bit, a couple of writers on from TFP and everything. They don't look great on paper. They have a 10, I think they're 10-6-2. Um, they were without Crosby for a little bit. They're still without Malkin. There's some concerns there if they can continue to um, win games just with Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith. So, regardless, whenever the Islanders play the Penguins and Sidney Crosby's on the ice, he usually tortures them. A 1-0 game, not bad. Sorokin was really good. And with him, there was one NHL defender on the ice in Scott Mayfield. The rest were, Robin Salo, Paul Ledoux, and the rest of the Bridgeport Islanders. So it was good to see them be able to conform to the Barry Trotz system, which I'm sure they've learned a little bit about, under Brent Thompson in Bridgeport. I almost called them the Sound Tigers. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely a little bit of progress there. We're seeing you try to take the little victories out of what's going on right now. Robin Salo looks really good. Like when everybody's healthy again, he could probably stay.
Do you want to pause on that? Because I
Sure.
think we spoke a little bit about that last week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Um,
not gonna elaborate on that. I'm just saying, blanket statement, Robin Salo could probably stay. Sebastian Aho looks pretty good. He could probably rotate in more often than he was. The only reason why he's gotten as much playing time as he's gotten right now is because of injuries. But I think now they're seeing, oh, well, maybe we could trust him a little more than we did. Maybe Zdeno Chara or Andy Green don't have to play every night.
so
Although,
that's the
nothing wrong with Andy Green.
right. That's where I wanted to pause because that's where some of the and I may have it later in our notes here, but that may be what the kind of the problem is.
Right.
For on definitely on the trade front, but
Sure.
certainly on even which we will talk about, but with Robin Salo or Aho, or even if any of the forwards kind of impress. I think Richard Panik has played pretty
Ponix looks really
okay.
good.
I don't know that you keep him for the cost when you also have Parise. I know we mentioned that last week, but
Right.
that Salo thing, maybe the cup of coffee, even regardless of the situation that he's playing in, right? I guess it's almost no pressure, so it's kind of good, right?
Yeah.
You go up, do what you can, learn. You're gonna make mistakes. You might not win any games. That's been the case, but it's just kind of what it is. So maybe he does just go back to Bridgeport. He's waiver exempt, so it's likely that's just the case based on that alone. You don't want to lose an Aho because if push comes to shove, especially in the playoffs, you don't want to be throwing a Robin Salo into that mix. You'd
Right.
rather throw somebody like Sebastian Aho in there. You'd like to not use Aho if you don't have to anyway. Although again, Chara clearly presents a little bit of an issue here. Um, Although, was it Aho that kind of got walked by Reeves? That toe drag?
I
Somebody
don't
did,
remember.
or
Might have been.
geez, it just did super did not look good. Whoever the defenseman was kind of laid down and tried to block that pass instead of just giving Reeves, who, look, you're in the NHL, you're pretty good, but the guy you pass it to could put the puck in the net. Reeves probably would not have scored if you just simply took the
Yeah.
pass away and took yourself completely out of the play. Either way.
And as you're saying it, though, I'm remembering it more. It was Aho. I remember you texting me too, and you were like, "Aho, are you kidding me?" And my caveat to that was, well, Ryan Reeves is whether you like it or not, a regular NHLer. He plays every night.
Yeah, but he's not scoring
No, he's
like that.
not.
I
But
mean,
he's
good. That was a
seeing
good move.
game
So
action.
I won't take credit away, right? Like that was clearly a good move.
Yeah.
But he's likely not scoring from there.
No, but I mean, my
He's
my point there was he's seeing game action every night. Listen, he's a confident guy to do what he does every night. I know it's not scoring, but he's a confident guy being able to drop the mitts and literally laugh in his opponent's face after he kicks their ass, on a nightly basis. So he's confident, and he's like, listen, this is an AHL defender. I'm going to pull a move here. Maybe it'll work, maybe it
yeah.
won't. But what's he got to lose
Yeah.
when it's a 3-1 game late in the third?
Someone is saying in the Dimitri, and I'm not going to say your last name simply because I cannot do it. He's saying it was Hickey, which also makes
Oh, right, it was Hickey.
which makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think that's now that I'm saying that I even saw a lot of tweets that were saying
Yeah.
that's not endearing him to stay into the lineup, whether it was Aho or Hickey or Dobson for that matter. Dobson's simply safe at this point because he's a regular NHLer and just a top 6 NHLer on this squad. So it just kind of is what it is.
The point remains for Hickey, though. When was the last time you saw NHL action? It was a game or two last season, and then another game or two the season before. It's been like 4 NHL games in the past 2 seasons for that guy. So
Which I feel terrible about. The guy's
yeah,
had 4 numbers. He's every game he comes up, every time he comes up,
he's got to have
he's
the record for most numbers won on an Islander jersey in Islander history. He's
you
got
know what?
so many different.
Somebody asked that, and that is not the case. Eric Hornick already dispelled that.
Oh,
There was somebody else with like 6.
good old E.
So yeah, of course. As if he probably didn't get that like 16 times. He finally just was like, all right, I'm going to answer that one. But yeah. So the definitely the standouts, good and bad there. Totally agree with you. Sal looked good. I think the numbers. I know this isn't the favorite thing for fans, and I did mean to put this in the notes somewhere, but this is a good spot. The underlying numbers, the analytics, whatever you want to call it, do look okay
Yeah.
for the Islanders. It's the puck is simply not going in. And
No.
what did you say the last couple of weeks?
You got to be good to be lucky. You got to be lucky to be good.
They're not getting out of this world goaltending. That helps buoy things like PDO and things like that. That Pittsburgh game becomes winnable because your goalie stands on their head.
Right.
But then you have to find the back of the net. And now this could be a 10-game trend where their shooting percentage it falls out. They also are playing with a largely AHL roster. But even the Barzels and the Palmieri, geez, so talk about snake bitten.
It's true.
So there's going to be, they can't shoot this low, you'd think, all season, but you could just be having a bad season. You could just not be finding the back of the net. I don't think for a second they're just not ever going to score again.
No,
that's obviously not the case. But the shooting percentage you'd think would go back up, as it would kind of regress to the mean or whatever, however you want to say that. I think that's probably closer to what you want to do. That's closer to what will actually happen. Rather,
I totally agree with you. It's just this has been the longest strand of things that have gone wrong in a long time that I can remember. It, like you said, they didn't just forget how to score. They didn't just forget how to be a good team. There's just a lot of factors here that have contributed to, all of the things that are going on the ice. That 7 guys with COVID, now 8, 2 guys to injury, 13-game road trip. There was too many things. The inconsistent play, like there was too many things going on for them to build momentum, gain momentum. The analytics looked really good. They lack finish. For some reason, Palmieri just can't find the back of the net. Parise just can't find the back of the net.
Oh, he's another one. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's another one.
And the guy couldn't buy a goal.
You would think that, these guys would have at least 5 or 6 goals by now because of how good their numbers look. And when they're on the ice, you say to yourself, yeah, they look really good. but why are they not putting the puck in the back of the net? It's just it's been a really tough break for those two guys, for the entire team as a whole right now. I think they've scored what, like 4 goals in their last 8 games?
It is a terribly low number.
It's a terribly low number.
Um, and I Yeah, you'd think it can't last forever. And I was, listening to some other shows and which boy is the analysis on this run terrible. And now I'm not putting us on a pedestal here. We're obviously not on the podcast. We're on their fans. We try to be as objective as possible for for the most part. But boy, was the coverage terrible. Hardly mentioning like at the end they were like, "Oh, the Islanders stink. 8 games in a row. They can't score goals. This and that. Oh yeah, by the way, there's COVID in the locker room." Anyway, the next and then they just go on the next topic, and I hardly can believe it.
It's certainly a bigger storyline than some had made it. It's almost like my friends who are out in I'm out in Staten Island, and it's mostly Ranger fans around here. They're all like, "Oh, Rangers are so much better than the Islanders, huh?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I mean they're doing really well, and the Islanders aren't, but there's a reason why the Islanders aren't." It's like, "Oh yeah, well, whatever, excuses." And it's like, "Well, they're not excuses, they're factors." Like there's a difference.
Yeah,
It's almost like the media kind of did the same thing.
yeah, they're not taking it. They're not just taking it that much into consideration.
Right.
Some people I've seen, Sean McAdoo and Dom Lucian and a few other folks, they're explaining it, but even there, it's kind of like peppered in. It's not really in the ingredients of what they're talking about. It's definitely just kind of afterwards, a little extra seasoning. Like, oh yeah, by the way, it's very passive, and I don't feel like I don't expect any media outlet really to go in depth
Right.
um, with with the Islanders in general. Forget about this particular story, although I feel like it would get a lot of traction. Far be it for me to choose what major media outlets are putting out there. Anyway, we're waiting for the Islanders to get back in the game action. Felt like the league waited a long time. Leading up to and following the announcement of the postponed games, you had some stuff you were hearing from colleagues over at the fourth period, some
Mhm.
rumblings. What was that? Because I think there's a little bit of an argument of why are some people saying this, other people are saying this. Tell us kind of what happened, because you saw it in live time, I think, through texts and
Yeah.
tweets and all sorts of stuff.
No, for sure. So, like you said, colleagues at the fourth period, I was talking to about the situation, and it was confirmed to me that Lou had been asking since the first game that happened at UBS Arena to postpone, due to their COVID situation.
So since just to be clear, sorry to cut you off. So what date are you talking about? So 11/20.
So the 11:20 was the game. I'm gonna say 11:21 was when I heard Lou's asking to postpone.
So prior to the game against Toronto, or
Yes.
the morning of, presumably,
Yes, because
of that game.
I think they were up to 6 and a few pending tests, that could have gone either way. Those were up in the air, so at that point, Lou was saying, "This is getting out of hand, quickly. We might need to postpone here." Didn't get anything on that. Um, he did budge a couple times. Now, I will say, you know, I saw him deny the the fact that he asked for the postponement. I don't know why. The only thing I can think of is that he doesn't want to make the league look bad. He has a good rapport with the league. Why didn't they step in sooner? Why didn't they listen to him? Because as we see, it got worse. So he wants to
Well,
stay on Gary Bettman's good side. Yada yada. But ultimately, whether he was the final say in saying, listen, this has got to get done, I don't know. But he did push for this. And whether he was the last one to push for it, or whether it was Islander team doctors who went to the league and said, hey, this is not good, we need to postpone, that I don't know. But at some point or another, Lou Lamoriello was part of the situation where he said to the league, guys, we got to postpone these games.
and that's so early when you think about it. Considering it went another few days, and then they play 2 more games. So not only should, you can argue one way or another for the Toronto thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, maybe they just go ahead and play that game. Not ideal. At least you do it, and then you have the days off. It would have given them a week. They probably could have played this past Sunday, canceling the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and after the Friday against the Penguins, and just played Sunday. They may have been able to kind of bounce back from this, but then you kind of kept people in the room for 2 more days
Yeah.
and a practice and this, which I think is the problem. You kept kind of convening the group of people where the spread was happening, which if you saw the memo that went out today, a bunch of TSN folks sent around an NHL memo that went to the teams, kind of saying to the players not to go to big gatherings, no more charity stuff, no more signings, no more public appearances, because what they were seeing is that it wasn't necessarily just being spread throughout the room. It was multiple instances of transmission. So one or two players are bringing it into the room, and then it's spreading. It's not just that.
Yeah.
People were under the impression that it took until, I believe, 3 Islander staff members, all 5 staff members, um, also coming down with it and
Sure.
testing positive. So that,
Yep.
I don't know if that was the tipping point. That would seem a little far for me. Like, so how far were you letting it get through the team before you were trying to make the argument to kind of shut it down?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, definitely a crazy situation watching that unfold.
Yeah. It was
Uh,
interesting to me that, at one point between when they postponed and Lou had asked them to postpone, it was interesting to me that even he had said to the media, I don't know what the threshold is. We have 6 guys right now. I don't know what when is enough enough?
that may have,
Even I was like, geez, when is enough enough?
so reading between the lines here for a moment, just because as now that we're kind of putting this all in a little bit of a timeline, which certainly helped me. I really didn't know that as I was asking that question. Um, it's possible that he provided that information. Probably was that before the Ranger game.
Yes, it was.
So that leads me to believe that he was asking for it because he was trying to figure out what the threshold was and he didn't know because he kept trying to push for postponement and it didn't happen. Which it seems pretty clear to me that he really didn't know what the threshold was. I don't know why you have to kind of gloss over one thing and admit to the other.
Right.
Um, if you don't know the threshold, it's not because you didn't ask, Lou. I know you asked, right? So you knew because you asked, which
Yeah.
means that conversation happened. So not as clever as you'd expect from him. Um, we also have the benefit of hindsight and not running a hockey team and choosing prices for arena stuff and all sorts of things going on. So our jobs are a little bit easier being
A little
able to
bit.
dissect all of this instead of him having to answer questions, even somewhat prepared in real time. Some good news from Michael Fornabio uh, in Connecticut. He said earlier today, because there were some rumors kind of going around Isles Twitter, unsubstantiated, nothing really confirmed, that Bridgeport was going to get shut down or something like that. Um, Fornabio kind of came out and said, for what it's worth, Bridgeport at this point, since it's not shut down, plans to practice tomorrow, which is Wednesday. They don't play until Saturday. So if that eases any minds, because I don't think any players have been returned as of 7:30 on Tuesday. Um, I don't think that COVID would have also gotten to Bridgeport's locker room,
Right.
which is good news. Um, we should find out more on Wednesday. Uh, I'm pretty sure they have to practice tomorrow ahead of Thursday if they're going to play Thursday. Do you also know that to be true?
I think they do have to practice tomorrow. So what they need to do is they need to have 3 consecutive tests for each of those positives be negative before they could step foot on the ice. So if that doesn't happen, we
And
may see that one postponed as well
and tomorrow would be
that day.
the third, presumably the third day.
Yes.
Um, and they'd have to practice there. Do you think they play Thursday? Do you think? I mean, I know I don't want to speculate or editorialize like you're trying to guess how many COVID positive tests are going to be there, but I think what we don't know is if it's spread anymore because there just haven't been any media availability.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't know. I have a I don't know. I have this funny feeling. This is just pure speculation that it will get postponed, and it's not because of anything I've heard with the Islanders. But if you look around the league, there's been a lot more popping up on other teams. Greg McKegg with the Rangers just tested
Who
positive.
who didn't play in that game?
Who didn't play in that game?
So we need to make that
He was
abundantly clear because that's
yes.
been an annoying thing that keeps popping up.
Correct. He was not with the I think he was with the Wolfpack at that time. I think he was on an AHL stint. So he wasn't in that game. Gaudreau of the Wild, literally this second was just announced that he tested positive. A couple others around the league. So I don't know. I just have this there's this little tiny spread going on right now. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I have this just weird feeling that it might not happen on Thursday. 3 consecutives with all this going on, I feel like it's hard. I'm sure they've all been home. I'm sure they've all been, distanced and everything, but, uh, yeah, I don't know. I have this feeling it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, they're definitely in a tough situation. I think what I started thinking about was the Sharks situation
Yeah.
earlier this season. And when you talk about postponing games, then you have to get into um, rescheduling them. The issue for the Sharks versus somebody like the Rangers, they're obviously very far apart. The Rangers are very close. San Jose is very far away. They don't come east that often. And when they do, when I check their schedule, it's pretty tight. The next time that they're in town ish on the East Coast, Washington, etc., the Islanders are not in town in January. So then you're pushing it off. You don't have February. I'm sure they built in some time for this in the schedule
Yeah.
somewhere, either at the end of the season or what have you. Um, but that might be a reason simply to just not have to deal with that. That they're really just pushing who can be healthy, positive tests, otherwise, whatever the case is. If can you get enough of the guys back? I don't know that I believe everyone will be back for Thursday if they're playing on Thursday.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if the caveat is like I said, did enough players test negative to then put a roster together
Yeah,
instead
I
of
don't know if there
did
was
7 guys test negative?
yeah, I don't know if there was clarity on if all of all 7 guys had to or if it needs to be like, I don't know, 60%. But
Yeah,
I would
that's
imagine it
exactly
would
my
be
point.
all of them.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I don't maybe I'm just being a pessimist. It made me think, okay, the Sharks, it's hard to reschedule that game. They're going to figure it out. They're going to just say, "Yep, enough of your players can come back. The other ones are in quarantine." Because the ones that just got it, so Casey Zizekas might not be in the game, but Anders Lee and some of the other players might be back because they've been out
Yeah.
for over a
Ross
week.
Johnston.
Yeah, they may have already had 3 consecutive days and continue to have negative tests.
Yeah.
Whereas Casey Zizekas can only be on his 3rd or 4th day
Yes, that's
or
true.
something to that effect by Wednesday, maybe 5 days. So it makes it a little bit complicated
Yep.
for sure. Um, yeah, I'm leaning towards more of the Sharks game happening simply for scheduling purposes, and getting them kind of back together, and it just kind of complicated later on in the season. I didn't look at the end of their season. I kind of just looked at the next couple of times they're in town. Um, but before we get to can the Islanders recover, their Stanley Cup odds, we're going to get to our ads and our sponsors at DraftKings and Manscape. So we'll be right back. Nope, I hit the wrong button. See, this is why This is why we have different people do this stuff. So, um, we'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by DraftKings. Football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game. But with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get in on the NFL action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code THPN, bet $1 on any team to score, and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with the promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers only, minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer, restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. This episode is also brought to you by Manscaped. Ho ho ho, ladies and gentlemen. The holidays came early here at Manscaped, the leading men's hygiene brand. Manscaped just launched new products including their all-new Ultra Premium Body Wash and 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. It's time to give yourself, or someone who needs it, the gift of beautiful hair, skin, and balls this holiday season. Go to manscaped.com and use code NHP20 for 20% off and free shipping. It's time to leave your significant other some cookies and milk at the bottom of your chimney. I'm talking about the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the Signature Lawnmower 4.0. This electric trimmer has proprietary, advanced skin-safe technology to reduce cuts on your nuts. It's also waterproof so you can use it in the shower. It's like a gift to your partner with less mess. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant, moisturizer, and toner. It's time to keep your North Pole feeling and smelling fresh. 'Tis the season to load up on Manscaped products, so get yourself, your dad, your brother, and friends the best gift of all, the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with code NHP20 at manscaped.com. Every guy out there needs to add Manscaped to their wish list this season. Once again, get 20% off and free shipping with code NHP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code NHP20. Make Santa proud and shop Manscaped this year.
Those ads get better and better.
Every single one.
And so you saved the transition that I absolutely botched, which will be a slightly better in the audio version.
Yeah.
But so sorry for those of you. A
If
growing
you're
number
listening
of
to the
you who
audio
watch.
version, good for you. You didn't hear the botch.
Yes, but however, you saved it with the music. Love the producing there. So you kind of some absolute points. Love that.
Thanks.
Sprucing it up a little bit. So when we left you for those ads and that terrible transition, we were asking the question, can the Islanders recover? I personally do not know where I stand on this. I'm not hearing a lot of good stuff. The numbers don't necessarily point us in a good direction. But I think you hold a different opinion on that than maybe that I do or that I'm leaning towards. So I want to hear it. What do you think?
Mean, so a lot of people know that I do follow advanced analytics. As I was an advocate for Parise, Kyle Palmieri, and how well they're playing. I'm also an advocate for the eye test and pure puck luck and all that stuff as well. And just the natural order of things. And listen, I do think once the team is fully healthy and the full team gets to play home games, Anders Lee and Josh Bailey haven't played a freaking home game yet. I think the team's going to play better.
Who else up until right now just forgot about Josh Bailey altogether? I don't mean that as a Bailey detractor or
right.
whatever. I mean, I'm definitely hard on him, but yeah, I for whatever reason escaped one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, that's a regular that's out of the lineup.
Right. So, and that's the thing, right? All these guys haven't played home games yet. So can they recover? We've seen what they can do at home. We've seen them play really well in front of their own crowd when they're fully healthy. It's hard to say. I'm not going to sit here and say the Islanders just forgot how to play hockey, forgot how to play their system, and they just stink now. Everyone in the league has figured them out, and they're no good anymore. That's not true. It's just been a tough stretch of unfortunate events that has led up to right now. They're in a bad way. It's going to be tough to recover. They need to play near perfect. I think they can only lose like, I don't know, 10 more games for the rest of the season. But you can never say never. The St. Louis Blues in just what 3-4 seasons ago went from worst to first in the month of January, for the rest of the year. So look, I think they're going to compete the rest of the way. I think they're going to be a competitive team who will win a good amount of games once they're fully healthy and back in a regular momentum, a regular schedule. The best they can do at this point is probably a wild card spot.
That might be true. Just for some some numbers here. Their playoff chances as of, I guess, a day or so ago were 17%. Not great, Bob.
I think before the season it started at like 85, 90%.
So they fell. My understanding is in the Dom Decision article was that it fell 60 something, high 60 something percent point, and the most of any team so far. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tough.
As of Friday, Ryan Lambert on Puck Soup, who is not an Islander fan, makes it pretty known fairly often that he doesn't always care for them, which is totally fine. Good to kind of hear that at times from people. He said the Islanders needed to play at around 110 point pace the rest of the way to make the playoffs. That doesn't mean they need to get to 110 points. They just need to play at that pace, which is at this point 45 wins or so.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Additional wins because they have 5. So they need in the upper 40s or 50 wins.
They need to play near perfect,
which doesn't leave a lot of room for error. So this is where some positivity comes in. They're 3 games behind pretty much everybody. So the second wild card spot is held by Columbus, who have played 2 more games than the Islanders. Significantly more wins than them. But overall, but that counts loser points and shootouts and overtime wins. They've only had 7 regulation wins. The Islanders have had 5.
right?
So it's possible to, winning some home games, getting on a streak. You forget they went 21 4 and 3 last year at home or something to that effect. So it's, rattling off half the wins at home, that really helps. If you can kind of squeeze out 20 other wins on the road, that's where it gets hairy for me. So it is possible because a lot of the teams in front of them have played significantly more games, including Pittsburgh, and really any team above the wild card has played over 20 games or more. So 8 points and 4 wins over the next 4 games puts the Islanders at 21 games and 20 points. That's where some of these teams are at anyway.
Right.
So I think that puts the Islanders in a pretty okay position if they're beating the right teams in front of them. Other Eastern Conference teams, specifically Metro teams, they have to beat them. That makes those games even more important. But they've gained a lot of time now. Now they Lamorello's favorite thing. They've gained a little bit of time here.
They have.
So it's not impossible.
It's not. It's not going to be easy. But
it's not going to be easy.
It's not impossible.
I think to kind of go back the other way on this and kind of as we wince at the lineup, it's a little crazy to me, and I'm only just thinking about this, that only slight variations to this lineup offers a very different look for the team and their ability to play their system.
I agree.
Right? You can not like Komarov all you want. Parise can end the season with the exact same number of points ultimately as Komarov did in any of these seasons. There's something about Komarov on the ice of this team that made it good, right? It's the right players. You cannot like Komarov in the top line Not suggesting that. Don't put words in my mouth. Not suggesting that for 1 second. However, it's not working with the current lineup. There's something about, you Letty and Eberle. We talked about three guys, especially particularly on forward, right? The goal replacement. You're adding Lee back. Palmieri and Eberle were pretty much a wash. You were losing Dal Cole and Komarov. You were adding in Parise. It seemed like we were getting more goals than we were losing from regulars in the lineup. The rest of the lineup pretty much stayed the same. I think the issue is not only have Anders Lee been out for a few games, Palmieri's snake bitten, and Parise's snake bitten, but the rest of the team's scoring is dried up. So nobody's carrying the weight. In the past, it's been okay. Well, the second line's really going. Brock Nelson, Barzell's a little slow. Barzell gets going. Peugeot and everybody else are a little slow. Then that one picks up. It was always this next man up mentality. It wasn't necessarily guys coming into the lineup. It was about players in the lineup playing well defensively, not being a liability, and other lines scoring goals, and your defense kind of doing its job. Then you take Letty out of the lineup, getting the puck out of the zone. You put in what's been a liability in Char.
Yeah.
You're giving a lot more time to a Noah Dobson and exposing him a little bit more. Mayfield isn't perfect. Then you lose Pulock, or you split up that Pelech Pulock defensive pair because you can't trust the other guys out there together in
Which
any kind of
worst.
combination. So that gets split up. Then you lose Pulock. That's it. And then Aho is playing all these minutes. So it's very confusing to see what the actual chemistry needs to be for this team to work. And it's a fickle thing. It's very clear that it needs to be precise for it to work. And it has been for 3 seasons.
So here's the thing, because I'm seeing a lot of comments in the live chat right now with some perspectives, which I understand, right? Lee's getting to be 30 and the wrong side at 30. He's getting older. Leo leaving the lineup is not the problem here. And listen, those things are all true. It's not the only problems. The thing to me is that one, right? The Islanders for the past 3 seasons have curated offense by turning their defense and their good defensive zone play into offense. The way they did that was with a puck mover in Devin Tays and Nick Leddy, and they don't have both of those right now because nobody on the blue line really knows who that is at the moment. We all pointed to Noah Dobson, hoping it was going to be him, and I think he's trying, but he doesn't really just know how to do that yet. Then you split up the best tandem on defense in hockey in Pelech and Pulock, and that's going to hurt you. Then you lose Ryan Pulock. Then you lose Adam Pelech. So all of these factors, right, and the string of things that have happened this season, right, the 13-game road trip, 1 game, maybe 2 a week that are spread out 5 days apart, the 13, all this stuff going on. Is it unfair for me to say this team just doesn't know who they are yet because they just haven't been able to find any sort of consistency at all this season?
Hardly any rhythm.
No rhythm.
And I definitely
literally zero.
And I don't mean to be passive here. I don't know who's behind the Islanders Never Say podcast, but their point is well made that it's 1.88 goals a game, right? That's definitely a problem.
Of course.
Like we said, it's somebody you don't have somebody moving that puck. Chara is not that guy. They have not found a Letty replacement to carry that puck out of zone. He was the best at it last season, or one of the best at it last season.
Totally agree.
You do see Barzell shooting more from in close. And I thought about this today for a little bit. I think I wrote it for a piece in Isles Fix. If you're not subscribed to that newsletter, definitely go check that out. James and I are both a part of it with Joe Bono and a couple other really great people. I think I wrote in there, as a matter of fact, that Barzell is shooting from closer. I think it's a couple things. He has he doesn't really have the confidence in that right winger at the moment, whether that's Josh Bailey or whether that was Kyle Palmieri. So he having that option isn't really there. He may also just want to shoot more. He may be getting that instruction from the coaching staff. Hey, you have more opportunities than you think you do. You have way more time than you think you do. Use that. You
Right.
also have Anders Lee back, who's in front of the net. So if you don't score, there's an opportunity at least to create a chance for him to score. And he's screening the goalie. So there you go. You either can score or you can create an opportunity. It's
Right.
kind of a win-win. So a couple of those things may be coming into play. But so that 1.88 right now may simply be no luck. Running into good goalies. Christian Jari is not good. He's just playing. He's playing well right now.
Yeah.
He has not been. The Islanders have exposed him in 2 different series.
That's true.
Him and
Matt Murray.
Matt Murray, and Fleury over the years. But most recently Christian Jari. Everybody was saying how
Tristan
terrible
Jarry.
Tristan. Yeah, with a T. Yeah, with a T.
Tristan.
Sorry, I'm mumbling. With Jari, the Islanders have exposed him, and everyone called him out for that in that series. That was not a surprise. He's just playing well. So the Rangers also have a really good goalie. Toronto also is both of their goalies are playing really well right now.
Yeah.
Calgary, Markstrom, they're the best tandem in the league right
Yeah.
now. You ran into 4 teams that are their goalies are just hot.
Yeah.
Right. So on top of the Islanders not having any luck, no bounces, nothing, and a team full of mostly AHL guys who normally would have been picking up the slack when the Barzels or the other players can't score, it's a bunch of AHL players.
Right.
And then on top of that, you ran into hot goalies. Yeah,
Yep.
it's you're going to get shut out quite a bit. You're going to have some 1-goal games quite a bit. That should not surprise anybody.
Yeah.
Go look at all those goalie stats. Yes, Wall for Toronto is a rookie, and he's not had a lot of NHL experience. Toronto's also playing really well team defense.
Yeah, they are.
So you ran into 4 teams in a row that are on their game or on their way up. That was a bad time to play those teams. That would have been a bad time to play those teams with the full roster. They may have split those 4 games.
That's true.
So some consideration there, right? Now the scary part is the recovery. Literally the players, not of the team itself in the standings.
Yeah.
We're seeing some of those issues and some of the health down the stretch with some players, which leads us, I think, to the trade front. A lot of names are thrown around, some of which you've tweeted about as no chance of happening. I tend to agree. What do you think about some type of move? Where does it come from? I think I know where you're going to aim first, but I do want to hear maybe what those second and third things are.
Yeah. The first I want to say, I know the consensus among everybody is we should make a move because this team needs help, but at the same time, again, like I said, does this team even know who they are because they haven't been able to play together? Is a new player coming in gonna help? Let's just say the forward group. Now on defense, I think that's a different story. I will say that I do think they need a defender. As good as Robin Salo has looked, you want somebody maybe a little more established with a little more time in the NHL. If you're really going to make a run at this thing and try to get back into the playoffs, I don't know where the Sam Girard rumor started, but if the
It was just he's
Islanders,
available.
well, right, it might be that he's available, and if that is true, he might be a good fit. 24 years old, he's under contract for a few more years at a $5 million cap hit, and he's a puck mover. That's exactly what they're missing. So,
how do
he's
they
a
make
good
it
name.
work on the roster? So before we get to some other players, maybe I should have prefaced this question. Where do they fit in physically in the roster? Because I think that's where the fact that and Islanders Never Say Die also said, we need to wait. Don't throw money or picks or things After, when you're playing bad, if it's this person did not say it's a lost season, but if that's what we're leaning towards, if that's where it's rolling to, there's 63 games, 65 games left,
Right.
right? There's a lot of hockey. Other
Sure.
teams can fall off and have 8-game losing streaks. Happens
It's true.
all the time. No one thinks that Columbus can hold. No one thinks Detroit can hold. There's some room. There's some room for the Islanders here, especially with games in hand. But I agree that maybe no big trades here.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
listen, not yet. Pump the brakes. This is a trade deadline. Like if they can recover and they're in the hunt and they need help, yes. But if we're talking right now, listen, like Jake DeBrusk's name is out there at I think almost $3.5 million cap hit, maybe a little more. He's got 6 points on the season, 3 goals, and last year he wasn't much better. He's not the answer that the Islanders are looking for. He's not the guy that they need.
Not only that,
Um,
they're fat chance Boston, who got bounced by the Islanders,
right,
are going to go help them.
right.
They're 10 points apart with one game different. No way. No way they're doing that. Oh,
Right.
yeah, Andre. Absolutely not DeBrusque for Palmieri. That is no.
Definitely not gonna happen. The other name that somebody brought up to me not too long ago was Ben Chariot of the Montreal Canadiens. They're in a really bad way right now as well. They have I don't know if they have a worse outlook than the Islanders. Does anybody right now? I'm not sure, but I think the Montreal Canadiens might. And if they're looking to just blow it up and get assets for anything, Chariot might not be a bad option for a second pairing defenseman with Mayfield um, at a cheap cost. So and he plays a good defensive system right now. They gotta keep pucks out of the net, and he doesn't have terrible wheels either. So for short term, yeah, sure. Ben Chariot might be a good get when things kick back up again.
I
But
do wonder. I worry that you don't make the move too early. I completely understand
right,
that.
I wouldn't.
And I don't want to. I want to get to a couple questions while we're still live here because I know we want to wrap up kind of soon. But I don't want to wait too long for the trade, right? You don't want to do too early. I don't want to wait too long because how many more games you don't have the room? You simply
I agree.
don't have the room. So you can't be like, I don't know. I guess maybe Char can turn it around. Like he's played a lot of these games, whether even before again, take the last maybe 3 games out of the equation or 4 games out of the equation. Look at the other parts of the season. His game score was not good. The eye test wasn't good. You can look at the analytics and the eye test. Not great.
Right.
Absolutely not great. There were very few parts of his game that you would point to and say he's an asset to this team.
Yeah.
In the locker room, I suppose I can't deny that. A lot of players can be really, really great in the locker room.
Yeah.
He is not performing on the ice no matter how you cut it. So that's what scares me a little bit is you do have to do something. You can't just roll this out and expect things to change.
No,
I
I
believe
agree.
many would say that's the definition of insanity. Now
No,
you
I
don't
agree.
have a choice, right? Maybe he needed a rest. They're not going to get any practice. They're not going to get a ton of practice time. They're playing like almost every other day for a while.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do see Andre mentions Jacob Chikrin or Shane Gostisbehere from Arizona would be
Gossespierre is terrible.
perfect. So he's having a decent season with Arizona, but I don't. He's a good puck mover, but everything else about his game is kind of not great. Jacob Chikrin, on the other hand, is pretty
I
great,
mean,
having a
right now
terrible
it's
season in
15 points in
Arizona.
22 games.
Yeah, he's
Is on
doing
pace
pretty
for
well.
better than what he was doing with Philly last year.
Yeah.
Looking for some.
Now, I will say, the thing about Chikrin is that that's a huge deal, and I don't mean like he's a huge deal. I mean like it's a huge deal to make. It's going to cost you your first round pick for sure. It's going to cost you 2 A-chip prospects. It might cost you Atu Ratu, and I don't know if you want to do that.
Nope.
Samuel Bolduc. Maybe they want Robin Salo. Maybe they want Noah Dobson. And do you lose Noah Dobson right now for Jacob Chikrin? Can you even afford to do that right now? It's not possible, I don't think. So Chikrin's tough. That's more likely an off-season thing if it ever happens. I feel like Arizona wants to build around him though. Gostisbehere, listen, if it's for a seventh round pick, sure, take a flyer on him. You need a puck mover who's played in the NHL. And like you said, John, he's got 15 points in how many games. He's not doing terribly. He's kind of like Nick Leddy. He's not great in his own end, but he knows what to do to get the puck out of the zone once it's on his stick and into the offensive zone.
Yeah. So Andre also is commenting, yes, the problem is that they don't want to move him. That's exactly
that
it.
Also.
Looking at Gostisbehere's numbers, maybe he's not as terrible as I thought. I guess I heard more things than I had looked up myself. His even strength numbers are okay. Like I said, he's got 15 points in 22 games to start the year. He had 20 in 41 games last year.
Yeah.
So that's not incredibly hard to kind of make that move. Thinking about that move, he's 28, so he's got that experience. The Flyers have been pretty good. They had a lot of experience against him over the years, especially in the playoffs a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know his cap hit off the top of my head, but that might be the barrier too.
I think it's low. I think it's like 750, maybe a little more for Gostisbehere, right?
Yeah. So 4.5. And then there's another season on that.
His cap hit's $4.5 million. Maybe Arizona's only paying him like 750. Is that what it might be?
No, it does not.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different trade then.
It maybe I'm just not maybe I'm not seeing it, but yeah, looks like they're paying full freight on him. So for 2 more years, I mean, he's got to be good when he comes in for it to work for 2 years.
Right.
So that's a little tough. I know the Islanders have their space. It continues to grow over the course of the season. More money comes off the books next summer, at least somewhat, and some new contracts will hopefully knock some AAVs down for a Cal Clutterbuck or so. So do you want to, and you do need to sign some players. You are just kind of retaining some folks. So I'm not sure that 4.5 on Gostisbehere is super great unless they can retain it. I don't see why Arizona would necessarily want to do that at the moment. They've already helped out the Islanders kind of in a big way this year. So I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, right. So yeah, I don't know what's realistic at this point. I think that's kind of tough for me.
The crazy thing is no one will know what's realistic until Lou Lamoriello already pulls that trigger and it's a done deal.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely the case. So we'd love to take, I know our chat is a little delayed, so we'll give everybody a second to catch up here for a few Q&A session, a quick Q&A session rather. So then we can be on our way. Yeah, anything before a question comes in or something, maybe we won't get any. Anything else on the trade front, or that's pretty much it. I don't.
That's pretty much it. Like I said, if they make a big splash, won't be till towards the deadline, and they'd have to be fighting for a spot, or at least you'll all hope that they're in a spot and fighting to keep it. Maybe a smaller trade sooner to fill in a need like a defenseman. But again, I don't think that they're going to pull the trigger too quick because again, their full team hasn't even played a home game yet. Their full team hasn't played a home game yet. So they're probably going to want to see what they have in their own guys. Robin Salo is showing that he could probably fit in, and so is Sebastian Aho. So they have 2 decent puck movers already.
Yeah, it's in the future that the team I think is in good shape in that department. It's going to take a little bit longer for Salo to kind of develop and become that player, as we've seen with a Dobson. If that can even happen, it'd be great to have 2, along with a pretty steady player and a bigger defenseman in Mayfield, along with arguably the best defensive pairing in the NHL.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap it up here, we do have a question from Andre. He asks, if they fall out, do you trade Varlamov with Sorokin playing so well, free up more cap space? I want you to take this one first.
I'm gonna say no because with how listen, I understand what it looks like right now. The Islanders don't look very good, but I have a hunch. I think it's a safe bet to assume that even if they don't make the playoffs this year, or if they make it by the skin of their teeth, they're going to plan to be competitive again next season. This season might just be a wash for them. If it comes to that, either way, they're going to plan to be competitive next season. That this roster is still built to go into it for a deep playoff run, and the way it's constructed, they're going to want to continue to move forward with that. So I don't see Varlamov going anywhere until at least his contract is up, and maybe not even then, because him and Sorokin have a good thing going. They really do play for each other and lift each other up when it's needed. They have a really good relationship, and Varlamov has done wonders for Sorokin's development on and off the ice. So he's so much more important than people understand, I think, sometimes. And I don't see Varlamov going anywhere.
I agree. Trotz still prefers Varlamov, it seems, and is waiting for Sorokin to be that player. If the Islanders
Maybe.
make,
I don't know.
well, yeah, Varlamov's 0-3 at the moment. Has not played a ton, obviously. Sorokin has played really, really well, but the true test is playoff time. If the Islanders make it, that's where we're going to see who the Islanders are going to go with, who Trotz is going to go with.
Yeah.
So that to me, I don't think you can do it this early, because by
No.
the time the trade deadline rolls around, you still have a little bit of a stretch there, and you got to see what's going on.
Right.
And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to kind of move in by the deadline, unless they're completely out of it. I don't know if that even crosses anybody's mind to do. You
I
need
don't
two
think
good
so.
goalies in this league. You're talking about the best tandems around in Calgary, and going with the Islanders and a couple other teams. You need both goalies to be really good.
Right. And like I said, the Islanders don't end after the 2021-22 season. They have next season, which they're planning to be competitive for. They're going to want Varlamov around.
Yeah, I don't see that changing much at all. Unless, I don't know, that I feel like that would be a crazy thing to not have both, two good goalies. That's been within
Right.
the Trotz, Lamoriello kind of house the last now 4 seasons.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going anywhere. I think they want two dependable goalies. Imagine Varlamov goes down and you don't have a Sorokin, or it
Yeah.
was just Sorokin and you had to rely on Corey Schneider
Right.
or Ken Appleby or any of these players. I just don't think that's smart in today's NHL. I don't,
Agreed.
especially if you're a competitive team, you need to make sure, kind of come hell or high water, that you can do it. And you've seen how far with a lot, the Devils were pulling up guys, their goalies were injured. Toronto, the same thing last year. Wall is their like 4th string goalie. You
Yeah.
kind of forget, or 3rd or 4th string goalie. Doesn't make you feel any better about losing to them and him getting a shutout, but you see how quickly things can deteriorate. They just signed Mrazek, and
Yeah.
he got injured.
Right.
Luckily, Jack Campbell's playing it out of his freaking mind.
Correct.
So, yeah, it's a little tough.
Yeah.
So I don't think you want to let a good goalie kind of slip out of your fingertips. I don't care how much he makes.
Yeah. It's
Unless
true.
he's playing terrible, 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 and it's way too expensive. Even Bobrovsky's having a second life, although he tends to do that.
That's true.
So I think I think a lot of teams are pulling for 2 goalies. So I don't think that's going anywhere soon. What do you think?
I think that's it, pal.
We managed to get an hour out of not a whole lot going on,
We did.
as usual.
We always do.
We always do. So thank you to DraftKings and Manscaped. Make sure to use that THPN promo code with DraftKings and NHP20 with Manscaped. I'd like to thank the Hockey Podcast Network and Isles Fix, and of course, all of you, our listeners, and those of you who watch on YouTube and live tonight. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Nassaman Hockey. You can also join our Discord for a safe space to chat with fellow Islander fans, Lastly, you can find I have to change this ending. You can find James' work at the fourth period and my work at the Hockey Writers as well as Isles Fix. Until next time, let's go Islanders.